own folks, he gives strange assignments that don't make sense to you. But in a strange way, they are also necessary. And if you remember, I said that the reason why this assignment, though strange, is necessary was because of what the assignment does for Elijah. Now listen, sometimes God has to get you and I away so as to prevent us from having an inflated ego or thinking of ourselves more highly than we ought to. Y'all understand what I'm saying? If you're not careful, sometimes you can find yourself doing some things that gain you the applause of men, that gain you the adulation, the admiration of men, where people will be singing your name, and if you don't handle the praise and the accolades and the kind words and the nice gestures right, the devil will use accolades as a pump to inflate your ego. So sometimes God, to prevent that from happening, he makes us recognize that the stuff that you do ain't because of you. It's because of me, that I'm working in you. I'm the power, I'm the energy, I am the strength behind your success. I wish I had some help. In other words, Jesus put it like this in John 15:5. I am the vine, you are the branch. He that abideth in me and I in him, the same bringeth forth much fruit. And then he says, hold up, without me, you can do nothing. Disconnected from me, you can do nothing. To be severed away from the vine as branches is to remain unfruitful. But as long as I'm connected to him, I can do all things. I can bear fruit. I can win the loss. I can succeed over my enemies. I can stand up in the face of Ahab and tell my Ahabs, no dew, no rain, unless I say so. But in order to get that way, God strategically has to move you from out of your Ahab palaces to a Kerith Brook prayer ground. Have I got a witness? He has to get you by yourself to help keep your ego intact. I wish I had some help. So you don't get the big head. And so that's why the brook Kerith is a strange assignment. Go hide. But it's necessary because the Lord wanted to protect Elijah from Ahab, but also protect Elijah from Elijah. God not only wants to protect you from your enemies, but sometimes the enemy is me. And God has to protect me from me. I wish I had some help. You know, some of us learn 2 verses and we deep and heavy. God has to protect me from me. A good sermon don't make me a great preacher. God has to protect me from me. A solo that excites the congregation don't make you a great singer. God has to protect you from yourself. So he says, come here, Brook, where I want you to be. It's going to be there that I protect you. But also I share with you that God uses this assignment. He gives gives Elijah. It's strange, but it's necessary. Not only for his protection, but also for provision. Now, what got my, I'm going to get to verse 8, y'all, but I just wanted to kind of bring us up to snuff, as they say. What gets my attention about this passage is that God's means of provision come from unlikely sources. You don't expect ravens to feed you. Now watch what God says to Elijah. Now I want you to get up, head east, go to Kerith Brook. Elijah does exactly what God says. But remember what God says. I want you to get there because I've commanded ravens to feed you there. That is the passage, y'all. Verse 4, he says, and it will be that thou wilt drink from the brook, and I have commanded the ravens to feed you there. Strange source of provision. But let me say something to you. I mentioned when we came back to dealing with this assignment, though strange, being necessary, I saw something with regards to the provision or the supply, and I don't want you to miss this. I want you to remember this again, that sometimes in order for God to meet needs, though he has some strange sources, I told you that the source of the supply were ravens. What gets you about that is that ravens by nature, I've said, they were scavenger birds. Ravens hang out at the dump yard. You don't find ravens at the beautiful parks. They like the dumps. They're around hanging out with the pigeons, the seagulls, y'all understand. They like dirt. They were often known to be omens of misfortune, tragedy, and death. You know some of those scary movies, you'll see a raven flying and they become an omen, a sign of death, of sorrow, of tragedy. You don't expect the source to be ravens. I wish I had some help here. But God, because of who he is, can change the nature of a raven from being a scavenger bird to being a servant butler. Y'all not hearing what I'm saying? Now what's the connect, y'all? When you obey God's word to do God's assignment, though it might be strange, sometimes I don't know all why God has me where he has me. There's some things that God has led me to do that I didn't bit more understand. But I know that it was the word of the Lord. Have I got a witness? And at God's word, hearing God's voice, I stepped out in faith and I watched God meet my needs through some unlikely sources. Somebody knows God to have done that. He'll make a mean boss pay you. Have I got a witness? Oh my God. He's got avenues through which he can bless you. God is not limited in how he can care for you. If God decides to use a raven to bless you, come on here, raven. The source of the supply. Now, God, it was necessary for him to get in confinement, to commune, to be alone with God, so that God could protect him, but also could provide for him. But what blows your mind is the source of supply. Ravens. Anybody ever watch God feed you, care for you, take care of you through your ravens? Come on. Oh, God, I mean, he can do it, y'all. He can do it. I said he can do it. So that's the source of the supply. But now watch something else. I say it to you. Not only do you see the source of supply in this passage, but you also see the stipulations for supply. Now, what were the stipulations? Remember, we said God's instructions were, I've commanded the ravens to feed you there. To feed you there. In other words,